Welcome to today's video. I've been waiting to do this video. I've been waiting until I was in France in order to do it because I don't travel with those. But yeah, today we're talking about the books that I enjoyed, the books that I recommend, and there's those books and then there's the digital books that I don't have a copy of. So I hope you have some tea, I hope you have coffee, settle down, we're talking books. Alright, so I recently saw on Goodreads that I passed the 1K books read. So I read more than 1,000 books, which, I'm surprised too. But what I can say is that I do love reading, and today it's only going to be about, channel books, spiritual books, and then I will continue the series with other books if you're interested in that. So I do want to have a little disclaimer. When we're talking about channel books or spiritual books, we often think of, a rule or a faith, a dogma. And even with the channel books, which, some of them proclaim to be very real and it's the real version of reality, but society is, an illusion. And to some extent, there's wrong and right with that. And I always take a grain of salt with whatever I consume. If it resonates with me, it will resonate. If it resonates with me for 2 months or a year, that's already, interesting. But I don't let them disrupt my way of seeing, because otherwise we would just be always shaken with where the flow takes us. So I allow this non-fiction to be discovered with my curiosity, and me sharing those books with you, it doesn't mean that I'm preaching the vision of those books, or what they claim is their version of reality. So that's a disclaimer. I hope that we can make that happen together. We can make that understanding together. So I'm gonna start with the book that taught me tarot. This is one of the only books that I ever read about tarot, and I have been on Twitter, on spiritual Twitter forever. I've been, we've been here since 2016, having that awakening, that understanding, and using tarot as a tool to, and I'm gonna do a video about my connection with tarot because I have a lot of things to say. But what I want to say is that I was reading the newsletter by this author, Jessa Crispin, and then the book came out and I really loved their voice. I really, really love their voice. And this is all about creativity. It's all about being an artist or creative and connecting with the tarot. So it talks about all the cards in such a way, and I really recommend this. It's been wonderful. So this. Then I want to talk about Tom Kenyon, because we mentioned Tom Kenyon in this video with Sarah in our book club. There's a lot of Tom Kenyon that can be recommended. Those are the 2 copies that I have in French, and I have another copy in English of the Ethor material, but it's in Istanbul. So this is the Ethors. This is you can find what is in here in French in English on his website. He hasn't made a publication in English of the latest channelings about the Ethors, but basically this book is about him channeling through sound and channeling through many things the beings of the Ethors, and there is so many exercises and energetical understandings of what might be happening on Earth. And if you decide to dive into it and it resonates with you and you feel, like there's something to it, then your life might become interesting and curious with, what's happening, what's been happening. And yeah, it's I really love this book and I recommend it. So I'm gonna put in the description the pages, the links to his website, so if you want to peruse, but I highly recommend you to read the Ethor material by Tom Kenyon first, which is the first book where he really introduces a lot. Then we have the Magdalene manuscript. So this is the French version. This is the book that was with me during the whole of lockdown, and I've read it many times now because it was the only book, and it's really good. It really, by the time I read it, I I had read a lot of books about Mary Magdalene, and they all have a different version. They all channel Mary Magdalene in different ways, so there's different stories. And the way that I explain that to myself is different timelines, just different timelines. Christ being the nexus point, but yeah, different timelines. There's a lot of exercises within that book too. They call it the alchemies of Horus and the sexual magic of Isis. So yeah, go for that. There's a lot there, and there's a connection because it's also written by Judy Sion, who is the wife of Tom Kenyon, and she talks about her own journey through relationships, through love, through many different things. And that's the second part of the book, and it's extremely helpful. So I recommend that one. Then let's go into Diana Cooper, who has published many books, and I had fun with them, but this is the one that I recommend. It's a little light on the spiritual laws. It is basically all the laws that we talk of, the law of projection, the law of affirmation, the law of balance and polarity, the law of manifestation. So it's a really good entry point, I want to say, in understanding how energy works and how energetical patterns that we witness within the universe is also how we human work. Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. It's a fascinating thing that really puts a balm to your heart and makes you understand things with another eye, and if it helps, it helps. So Conversations with God. Then we've got this mammoth of a book. It's the Gene Keys manual book, and I don't know if you know about Gene Keys, but basically it is a declination of the human design system, except human design can be really harsh and tough. I don't really agree with human design. It's very limiting, it's very restricting, and someone who was working with human design in the earliest years started channeling something else, and it is layered, it has evolution, it is understanding the light and the shadows and what is in the middle, and it is beautiful. So basically you use this book to read about the Gene Keys, one of the 64 keys that we also find in human design, and they're seen in such a human way that also connects with the sacred. But this is not here to make you feel ashamed, or human design people don't come at me, but the founder of human design was using words that really are just painful to read the concept of human design is basically like astrology. You enter your birth details, your birth location, and then you are supposedly learning about yourself. And yes, when you learn about yourself and you read someone's words and they're extremely harsh and condemning, I don't know what to say, So I quickly turned away from human design, but this is something else, and this is really grounded in the heart of the person who wrote it, and it allows just a very forgiving and expensive version of what you could be and who you want to be. So I recommend going on the Gene Keys website. I'm going to put it down below as well, and to also listen to those videos that we recorded with Bella Crystals, where we talk about Gene Keys and where she shares her amazing wisdom into understanding different parts of your profile. And then you learn about yourself, and then you can refer to this book to actually just go and read what is corresponding to your coordinates. That's very, very helpful, and I really love returning to it. It's a really good grounding text. In the same family we have the seven sacred seals, and this book is also published by the Gene Key System and Richard Rudd. And oh my god, I just spend one night a month reading one of the 7 prayers, because this is my prayer book. Literally, you open different parts of yourself to 7 seals where there's love, acceptance, forgiveness, and those concepts are very difficult to grasp when we're not in that state, and this is just another vision on those themes, and another vision, another perspective, and that's something that resonates with me. I recommend it. I really love this book, and I've never seen anyone talk about it. I just saw it on the website, and yeah, I absolutely love it. Within the same realm of books that are about evolution, let's say, or expansion or understanding a bigger realm, we have this book that I also never see anyone talk about, but whoa, I just recommend it. It is called Navigating Dimensions, and it's by Lisa Transcendence Brown, and I read it on Kindle Unlimited. To be honest, like all of those books, I don't usually buy physical books because, again, I read a lot, and so I just read on my little tablet. And when I really love a book and I know I'm gonna just spend time with it or just carry it in my bag and open it to any random page, then I buy it. So I read this on Kindle Unlimited years ago. I took months reading it because it's so rich and explaining many things that we see talked about in the spiritual community or spiritual Twitter, or wherever you go and get those tidbits of information about spirituality or this other realm. And sometimes they can be described in oversimplified ways, or there's different narratives that exist within the spiritual community where someone describes something one time and everybody jumped on that train and continues to use the same metaphors, the same words, or the same concepts and understandings, and it's often not right, and it's harmful, and we need more understanding. We need people who truly live that experience and who can talk on that with the idea of experiments, rather than just someone who read a Twitter thread once and listened to one podcast once and then just explains things. So yeah, this book totally out of register but very spiritual. The Path of Love by Nusret Tura. My awakening started with being in Turkey in 2016, in September 2016. It started earlier, but when it really kind of shook my foundation was through studying Sufism. And I just could not get enough, and I was borrowing books from friends, and I was just delving into every English text that I could about Sufism. And for my birthday in October, my flatmates got me this collection of writings by this modern Sufi teacher, let's say, Sufism follower, and it is all the things that he published in the newspaper in Turkey in specific years. And I don't have much more to say except that I recommend this book, even though it's gonna be complicated for you to find it because it's a Turkish edition and it's a translation. I don't know. I hope you find it. I love this book. I absolutely love it. It talks about love and wisdom and connecting with God and celebrating that faith that we have within, celebrating love through the self. I have nothing more to say except this is great. And now we can go into the digital books. So there's a few books that you might have already seen in that video, the book club with Sarah, and I mentioned them, and I'm gonna be very quick about it. If you want to know more about that, you can just jump to that video. So I really started my journey with Mary Magdalene through the recommendations of one woman called Eva Marquez, and I had a few sessions with her, and she has amazing books. She has a series called The Pleiadian Code on Amazon that you can find, and it's 1, 2, and 3. I really recommend those books. I really enjoy them to understand many different things. And when being in those sessions with her, she recommended books by Claire Hartsong called Anna, Grandmother of Jesus 1 and 2, and the second one is called Anna, Voice of the Magdalenes. Really recommend those books. They really started the trickling down of my journey with Mary Magdalene. And then I really recommend another one called Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. And this is about the journey of the author with Mary Magdalene and going to the places that are connected with her. I really enjoyed these books. And if you want to know more about Mary Magdalene, I have a whole series of videos and I'm not done with it. I'm continuing to build up what I have to share with her. If we want to look at another viewpoint on the message of Christianity, then we can continue going from Mary Magdalene to actually the Christ, and I would recommend The Universal Christ by Richard Rohr. This book was, I actually have to buy it now given how much I love it. But it is, it's such a powerful book. There is so much to highlight, so much to preach, so much to share. So yeah, maybe that will be a part of the book club as well one day. I need you to read that book. Then I want to share The 12th Planet by Zekara Sitchin. It is also something that you can take with a grain of salt, but it's very interesting because it is research heavy, and this person has connected the story of the cosmos and the story of our solar system with a lot of archaeological research, and there's a lot of engravings, there's a lot of drawings about what is on different panels and relief in archaeological sites in Mesopotamia, and that is just a fascinating book. The first chapters, you get lost in it, you get sucked in it. After a while it becomes a little bit like, okay, like redundant, and it's a bit difficult to finish it, but the first chapters are such an experience. I recommend it. That is also within the topic of spirituality, but it's a little bit another journey. I recommend a book by Katrina Boss called Tantric Intimacy. This is a journey about, loving someone else, but also and mostly loving yourself. And it's been very helpful. I read it years ago, but I have such a beautiful memory of it, and I'm actually gonna reread it soon. A book that can be seen as a workshop or an exercise is The Desire Map by Danielle Laporte. It really helped shape my year 2019. I remember listening to it around the New Year's and just having a notebook with me and writing down answers to all the prompts. And that was such a great experience. I think that this could be done maybe every New Year's, and I recommend it. And then books that I recommend as part of the reading list on my Reiki school are the books by Jim Pathfinder Ewing. And if you want to join my Reiki school, I'm going to put a link as well, because I'm a teacher, and I teach Reiki, I teach energy healing, I teach connection to yourself. And those books, there's Clearing the Land, Reiki Shamanism, and a lot of clearing the spaces and trees. He has many books, but I really recommend them because it is about his experience of connecting to trees, connecting to healing places and spaces, and channeling. And that is so helpful when you are entering a new world, a new system that you just don't know anything about, and you see people talk about concepts, but seeing the experiences and reading and learning about that, it's enlightening, it's very helpful. And finally, we're at the end of this video, so I'm gonna recommend the last book, and the last book is also the book that we're reading right now with our book club with Sarah, and it is called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And this is all about connection to nature, connection to the self, and growing. And there's so much more that we can say, but I'm not gonna spoil it. If you want to watch our last book club video, it's just here. And yeah, I hope that you can read it and join us during the next recording of our book club session. If you enjoyed this video, please like, please subscribe, and send it to your friends. I hope that you enjoyed learning about those recommendations. And if you do read one of those books and you enjoy it, come back and leave me a comment. And finally, do you have a book to recommend me? Do you have a favorite that I have not mentioned here? If you want to add me on Goodreads, I'm putting the link down below so you can see all the updates as I peruse through the world of books. Thank you.